Hi, I'm Andy from Andy and Ted. This is our first recipe video that we're going to put on YouTube. It's going to show you how to make kimchi, which is a Korean fermented vegetable dish. The things you'll need to make kimchi are cabbage, that's the main one, it's the base of the recipe. You also need a pear, some radish, whether you use cherry bell, western radishes or a daikon, it's up to you. Leek, shallots, and then we've got, you can use choy sum or bok choy, anything really, even spinach can go in there. We're going to give it a bit of a spicy flavour using some chili. This is a chili that you can get on the website with a lot of these other ingredients. This one's called belachan, which is it's a dry form of fermented shrimp or fermented prawns, and it's got a very pungent flavour, so we won't need to use very much of this one. 4 cloves of garlic, some ginger, we'll take about, I don't know, maybe a couple of tablespoons of that, and last but not least, an onion, brown, red, whatever you want to use. So those are the main ingredients we're going to use for this one. But one thing you'll find once you start making kimchi is that there's all kinds of ingredients you can use, and you can ferment just about any vegetable that you can think of. The first step in the recipe is to take your cabbage. I'm only using half here, but the recipe scales up quite well. So you want to take your cabbage or cabbages and cut them into small squares. So not cubes of the cabbage itself, but square shapes of the leaf. And you want to get it about 4 or 5 centimeters to each side. Okay, so we've got the cabbage which has been cut up, and as you can see it's all in the square shape. Basically just go through the whole cabbage and cut it into squares. You might find that it's easier to use wombok, the Chinese cabbage, instead of Western cabbage, because you can peel the leaves off and it's a little bit easier to separate everything up, but it's not a big deal. I mean, in this case we've used the white cabbage and the taste will be exactly the same. What we do next is we make a pickling solution. This is just a solution of salt in water, and we put the cabbage into it. It's going to soften up the cabbage and get a bit of salt into the cabbage, and also take some water out. What you need in this case for 1/2 of a cabbage, I'm using 10 cups of water and 1 cup of salt. So we just take the salt, mix it in, if you're using a larger amount of cabbage, you simply just scale up the amount of water and salt as required. A little bit of the salt hasn't dissolved. That's not a big deal though, you just pour the whole lot in. And we'll make sure that it's all mixed up well. Okay, and try to get all the cabbage underneath the level of the water. You can always judge the amount of this pickling solution that you need just by the fact that all the cabbage has been covered. And just remember the 1 to 10 ratio with the water and salt. So yeah, that's it, we just cover it up. And we're going to leave that for about 5 hours. Step 3, we take the ingredients that are going to be part of the sauce. So some of the vegetable ingredients are going to just be added straight in with the cabbage, but the other ingredients are actually all going to be blended up. And then once we've done that, we have a sauce that will be included in there, and that's what gives it the spicy flavour. Okay, so the sauce ingredients are the garlic, the ginger, onion and pear, and we've also got the chili and belachan, or you can also use a fish sauce, you know, just a bottle of fish sauce like you use whenever you're making Vietnamese food. Okay, so the amount of those two will basically be varied depending on how spicy and how fishy you want the kimchi to be. And in terms of the other ingredients, it's pretty much fixed. So we'll just take those, cut them up and put them into the blender. Once you have those ingredients blended into a paste, it's time to add the chili and the fish paste. Okay, so in this case, you know, I like a lot of chili. We're going to put in roughly about 15 grams. of the powder. Yeah. And I've got a block here, that's about 15 grams of the fish paste, but I'm only going to use maybe about half, so about 7 or 8 grams of that, because it is quite strong. You know, you'll still be able to taste it in the kimchi. If you're using the liquid version of fish sauce, you want to use maybe about 10 to 12 tablespoons of that, but it really just depends. You can start off with a small amount, blend it up and taste it, see what you think, and always add a bit more if you think that it needs a bit more. Okay, now that the cabbage has been left for a few hours in the pickling solution, you'll find that it becomes a bit translucent. The colour will change a little bit, and it's also become a bit floppy because some of the water has left the cells in the cabbage. So now what we want to do is just drain all of the pickling solution out, and then we'll fill it up again with fresh water and wash the cabbage, so that we get rid of most of the salt, but still some of the salt is left inside the cabbage to help with the fermentation process. Now we're going to take the other vegetables that go into the kimchi, and we'll just cut them up. So with the shallots, you want to cut them into just small half-centimetre pieces. A similar thing with the leek and the bok choy or whatever other vegetables you choose to put in there. And last but not least, the radish. We want to cut it into slices. We want to make them pretty thin though, between 1 and 2 millimeters. If they're too thick, then they won't be able to ferment, and they'll be too crunchy or too raw. Yeah, so just keep it like nice and thin, and then they'll be able to go in there with the rest of the ingredients, and they'll ferment and get a really good flavour. Okay, now that everything's in there, we'll take the sauce that we prepared earlier and mix it in. Now we try to pack the kimchi down. You want to pack it down and try and get most of the air out of it. Now we just put the lid on and we wait at least 3 days. So just leave it out. It doesn't need to go in the refrigerator or anything. You should leave it for about 3 days to start fermenting.